Journalism. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from Joy 99.7 FM studios, Kokomlemle in Accra, at digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country, including Kekeli Radio in Ho and Pando FM in Pando. Is also live on Radio Martin Takrade, Jubilee FM in Keta. It's on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by UMB Bank, UMB Speed Up, Digibank, Let's Go, and Telesol 4G. Just a touch. In this edition, minority members on Parliament's Communications Committee take on the Electoral Commission for declining an MP's request for information under the RTI law.
It should not preclude the Electoral Commission from giving me information. I am very much amazed and surprised at the lawyers who wrote this letter. It can never be founded in any law under the sun.
We'll hear from minority members on the Communications Committee and the RTI coalition as well. In our Live Alive campaign to stop the carnage on Ghana's roads, we'll bring you the story of a 22-year-old woman who lost her mother in an accident just 5 minutes after she had spoken to her via the phone.
I spoke to my mom on that Sunday, and she told me she was in a vehicle coming home. So when she gets home, she will call me. So I couldn't believe it. When she told me, I told her that it's not my mom.
Also in this edition, father and son burned to death in fire outbreak in the eastern region town of Nkoko.
The students, government totally, Mr. President totally understands the situation in which they are.
That's coming up also when we hear from the Foreign Affairs Minister Shelley Ayokoboche. She's declared that Ghanaian students trapped in the Chinese city of Wuhan request repatriation is not possible. In sports,
Battle Royale in Doma as Asante Kotoko clash with Indiana Stars in the Ghana Premier League March Week 11 top lineup.
All that and more coming up here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apawu. Please stay for details. And the Right to Information Coalition says it is disappointed at the Electoral Commission's rejection of an MP's request for information under the RTI law. Ashaman MP Ernest Nogbe applied to the EC to furnish him with details of how the Commission selected its consultants for the upcoming December 7 elections, as well as the register that they are hoping to compile. But the EC, through its lawyers, declined the request, explaining that Parliament has not yet approved charges for reproduction of information under the RTI Act. Mr. Nogbe says the response is a slap in the face of the new law.
Flimsy, very flimsy excuse, because looking at Article 21F, which is the mother of all laws in Ghana, gives me or grants you right to information. And it is based on this Article 21F that we came out with the right to information law. So it is superior. So if the commission, Right to Information Commission, or even the government has not put up the commission to bring up fees and charges to Parliament for approval, it should not be it should not preclude the Electoral Commission from giving me information. These fees and charges, why should I have to pay for the sins of Parliament? As legal or illegal that it may be, I am ready to pay for any amount, which I stated in my dissent. I am very much amazed and surprised at the lawyers who wrote this letter. It can never be founded in any law under the sun.
So you have there, Ashaman MP Ernest Dogbe. There have been reactions to this latest test case for the RTI law. Minority MP on the Communications Committee, Sam George, says the EC erred by not giving the MP for Ashaman information under the RTI Act. He says the EC, per the law passed by Parliament, is not supposed to charge the MP for the information he requested.
The RTI in Section 75(2)(c), in fact 75(2) gives all the exemptions for payment for information. Now 75(2)(c) says that when the request being made, the information is in the public interest, it will not attract a fee. So whether the Fees and Charges Act has been passed or not, and Parliament has passed the Fees and Charges Act in November. So that claim again is questionable. As to whether the EC's request for fees and the RTI was captured is what we need to check. But the point is whether it was passed or not passed, the information Ernest Nogbe is requesting for is an information in the public interest, and as such would not attract any fee for reproduction, according to Section 75(2)(c) of the RTI. So the EC has no legal basis to reject the information. Again, even the action of the EC in getting their lawyers to write, again, is in breach of the RTI. The RTI says that when a request is made to an institution, the information officer in that institution will respond, not their lawyers. So the EC on two grounds is just running and beating around the bush, and there's no base lawyer should go to court to compel the EC and ask the court to impose charges and fines on the EC for breaching the RTI.
You heard there, Sam George. He's a member of the Communications Committee of Parliament, reacting to this latest test case. The EC has denied Ernest Nogbe that information that he requested from them. He's asking for how they selected the consultants that would help them compile the new voters register. Of course, the RTI coalition have a reaction to that. We're also working the lines to speak to the Electoral Commission on what exactly that communication was. Of course, we have a copy of that response from the Electoral Commission to the MP, and it says that we are lawyers for the Electoral Commission, our clients, and your letter dated 3rd February 2020 has been referred to us with instructions to respond thereby. Our client acknowledges your client's rights under both the Constitution and the Right to Information 2019 Act 989, as you rightly stated. As you're well aware, Act 989 was passed to actually operationalize Article 21F of the Constitution. Section 11 of Act 989, as you rightly cited, provides that the access to information shall be subject to the provisions of the Act. We wish to draw your attention to Section 75(1) of Act 989 as follows. An applicant seeking access to information under this Act shall pay the fee or charge approved by Parliament in accordance with the Fees and Charges Miscellaneous Provisions Act 2009, Act 793. As ready and willing as our client is to provide the information requested by your client, it is not immediately able to do so because the fees and charges applicable are yet to be determined in accordance with law. And that's the letter signed by Justin Agbeli Amenuvo Esquire in response to that request from Ernest Nogbe. That's the EC's reaction. And you've just heard a minority MP on the Communications Committee, Sam George, saying that the EC erred by not giving that information. He says that the EC, per the law passed by Parliament, is not supposed to charge the MP for information he requested. We'll definitely tackle this issue subsequently. Now we move on to some other stories. When 22-year-old Crystal Nelson spoke to her mother on the phone 4 weeks ago, she did not know that was going to be their last conversation. The level 300 student had called her mother for a discussion, but she said she was returning from a trip and promised her daughter she will call back when she arrives in Accra. That did not happen, as she died on the spot in an accident just 5 minutes after that chat. Crystal's mother, 51-year-old Doris Nelson, was buried over the weekend. Maxwell Agbagba was there and brings us the story as part of our Arrive Alive campaign to stop the numerous accidents on our roads.
A woman wailing very close to the remains of the deceased Doris Nelson. She lies in state. It is an atmosphere of grief and sorrow. It was a normal day on January 12, 2020. Doris Nelson was traveling with her husband Nelson back to Accra from Kwando after a visit. It has been hours of church service at Ashama branch of the Global Evangelical Church. Doris Nelson is now making her final journey to the last cemetery. The daughter of the deceased, Crystal Nelson, has been narrating how she heard the news.
I was in school when my auntie broke the news to me. I couldn't believe it because I spoke to my mom on that Sunday and she told me she was in a vehicle coming home. So when she gets home, she will call me. So I couldn't believe it. I know my mom. She survives every single thing. She can get sick to the last moment. You think she's dying, but she will still survive. So telling me my mom is dead, I was so surprised. What kind of accident? Like, how did it go? 5 minutes. It was just 5 minutes. And that day was my cousin's birthday. So she rather spoke to my cousin. The only thing she told me was that she's in the car going to Accra. So she'll call me back when she gets home. And that was all. I didn't talk to her. So I gave the phone to my cousin to speak to her because it was on his birthday.
Head pastor of the Global Evangelical Church, Reverend Dela Donko, says Doris Nelson played a pivotal role in the church. He says churches have a role to play in minimizing accidents on Ghana's roads.
And we being church personalities, we need to also take this campaign seriously, because as we are losing the accidents by our campaign, that a lot will cease. For instance, our drivers who drive carelessly, some of them are drunk, some of them, in other words, also overspeed because they just want to get there on time. The church has a role to play to help people understand what it means not to drink.
According to eyewitnesses, the driver was attempting to dodge an object on the road. In the process, the vehicle somersaulted many times. The deceased, who was not in a seat belt and sitting close to the window, was forced out of the vehicle. Her husband only survived because, according to him, he held onto another seat in front of him.
That's Maxwell Agbagba's report. In a separate development, the Christian Council of Ghana says it supports Joy News' Arrive Alive campaign, which seeks to reduce carnage on Ghana's roads. More than 200 people have lost their lives in road crashes alone this year, prompting action by the Road Safety Authority and the DVLA to partner Joy News in this campaign as they roll out other measures to curb the menace. General Secretary of the Christian Council, Reverend Dr. Cyril Fayose, has been speaking to Joy News.
Since you started this campaign, I have sat up in making sure that my seat belt is always on. I have come from a seat belt culture before, so I know seat belts are extremely important. But in a society where most people don't wear it, sometimes you tend to also relax your rules a bit. I fully support the campaign, and I will tell all my member churches and their members to also be careful on our roads. Every time they mount the pulpit, they should say something about Arrive Alive. I think that will really help persons arrive alive.
And that's the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Cyril Fayose there. You're still listening to the Midday News. You're on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's head back to our first story for this afternoon. Is a test case for the RTI law. After decades in Parliament, it was recently passed, and we're told that all is set for its implementation. But there's a test case. Ashaman MP Ernest Nogbe applied to the EC to furnish him with details of how the Commission selected its consultants for the compilation of the new voters register. Guess what? It was turned down, citing charges that has not been approved for that. Well, members of Parliament have been reacting to that. They say the EC has erred in that. But let's hear from the Right to Information Coalition, and we've been joined on the phone by Mina Mensah. She's a regional coordinator of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, also a member of the RTI Coalition. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News, Madam Mensah. So you've heard what has just happened, a test case for the RTI law. What's your immediate reaction when you heard this?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners. I don't even know what word to use, because when I heard this, I'm like, hello, the reasons that you are giving are not even part of the reasons that you can use to refuse somebody information. Apart from that, it's an election year, and for an election management body like the EC, you need people to feel that it's a credible institution. And I recall when civil society met the EC over the register, they were talking about transparency. So if you want to be transparent, the first thing you do is not to refuse information to somebody who is a citizen of Ghana. Apart from that, the Electoral Commission is a public institution. And for me, the reason that they gave is neither here nor there. You cannot say that because the fees have not been set, so you cannot give information, because the same act that you quoted says that if the information is for public what's the word to use? It's for the public good, then you don't need to charge any fee. So I really don't understand. I will not say I am shocked because of previous incidents that have happened, but I think that our public officials need to understand that they are there to work for the public good, and anything that would inure to the benefit of the public, they are supposed to ensure that those things are done. Apart from that, some of the acts or actions of public officials is a slap on the face of the law that has just been passed.
So going forward then, what will be your expectations in how this matter is dealt with?
My expectation is that the MP and his lawyers should take the matter up. If it needs going to court, they should go to court. But apart from that, I think that the onus lie on the executive, on the president of the land, to set up the RCI commission and appoint its members. Because you see, there are processes that you have to go through.
Well, we're grateful for your time. That's Madam Mina Mensah. She's a regional coordinator of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative and a member of the RTI coalition. Now, in less than 24 hours, the President Akufo-Addo will deliver the State of the Nation address. This will be his fourth since assuming office. As part of our build-up to the day, we bring you some of the issues he raised at the 2019 edition. Let's begin with issues with vigilantism or party militia. President Akufo-Addo promised to use all necessary means to end political party vigilantism. His comment came a few weeks after the by-election at Ayawaso, West Wogon 10 violent. Speaking on the issue, the president directed then for the two major political parties to meet and find a solution to it. Listen to the president at the 2019 State of the Nation address.
The narration that this was another incident of, quote, normal by-election violence, unquote, caused me to expand my response. I want to use the platform of this message to make a sincere, passionate appeal to the leaders of the two main political parties in our country, MPP and NDC, to come together as soon as possible, preferably next week, to agree on appropriate measures to bring an end to this worrying and unacceptable phenomenon of vigilantism in our body politic.
Now, following that directive from the president, there's been a lot of talk about putting an end to political party vigilantism or party militia, like we call it. Head of Security Desk, Gifty Andro-Apia, joins me in studio. What's been the journey so far after that State of the Nation address?
Well, it's been a long journey, but very short. Details as I will present here, Emefa. So we had the President Akufo-Addo urging the political parties to meet on this matter and actually decide whether or not they intend to end political vigilantism. He added that quickly the fact that if they fail to have this meeting and to decide on how to end vigilantism, he was going to put in place laws to deal with the matter. So we know that after that, some back and forth have gone on between the NDC and the NPP, but eventually the Peace Council led talks with the political parties. But then even before that will end, President Akufo-Addo, through the Attorney General, presented a bill that criminalizes all forms of vigilantism, and that is the Vigilantism and Related Offences Bill 2019. Now that promise, you'd say, has been fully delivered, even though not all the parties have signed on to the pact put together by the National Peace Council, to their disappointment. The NPP signed, but the NDC refused, citing the absence of some key stakeholders, including the Electoral Commission. That's where we are at the moment.
Interesting, but let's not forget the letters, the love letters, I would say, between the NDC and the presidency.
Right.
As a result, then this commission was formed. But we would be checking with the Peace Council where we are in terms of the signing of the latest. But whilst we wait, the president promised construction of a dam to hold the excess water spilled from the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso. Until now, the excess water often flooded communities in the upper regions. Listen to the president.
We're putting in place plans to avert the perennial flooding caused by the spillage of the Bagri Dam, which has resulted in the constant loss of lives and property over the years. The Ministry of Works and Housing will, in the coming week, receive a report on a feasibility study conducted by the Chinese company Sinohydro for the construction of the dam at Pualugu to serve as a receptacle to hold the volume of water spilled from the Bagri Dam. This will be the permanent solution to the Bagri Dam problem.
Well, so that's the situation. We've been checking and we'll get the latest situation after the president's address last year, and we're preparing for another address tomorrow. Well, MPs who are expected to host the president have been speaking about their expectations.
Following the results fair organized by the Vice President in Kumasi, there have been a lot of reactions contradicting the position of the Vice President. I think that the President has the golden opportunity during this SONA to clear the air and tell Ghanaians exactly what the truth is regarding our debt position, regarding our economic deficits and all the things that we have done to this country.
So in Adakulesedi appeared extremely tired. I don't see how this man can even conduct an election, and I think the quicker he goes, the better for this country.
And major issues like illegal mining, the excavators and all.
Well, the president is going to dance around it. I have already said that this was a party infrastructure, a party orchestration to make money for the party.
So some MPs there on their expectations. We'll definitely hear more of them in our subsequent bulletins. But let's head to the courts now, because Accra High Court has dismissed an application filed by lawyers for NDC National Chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo seeking to put his trial on hold. Justice Samuel Isiedu today ruled that the application does not raise any serious issues of fact or law requiring that the court holds proceedings. The first prosecution witness, Benjamin Osei-Ampofo, a broadcast journalist with Accra-based Adom FM, our sister station, had denied his police investigation statement as well as his witness statement presented by the prosecution. Despite opposition from the defense lawyers, the court admitted the statement into evidence, saying once Mr. J confirmed it was his signature on the document, it remained valid. Court correspondent Joseph Akableh was there in court and joins us in studio. So, Joseph, did the trial progress? Because we understand another application was made by Ms. Ampofo's lawyers.
And so the second application was also dismissed by the court. The point that was made then was that the lawyers were saying that once the court had denied them the first application, they had 7 days to which to appeal at the Court of Appeal, and so they wanted the court to take a break. But Justice Samuel Isiedu responded that that particular decision that they were relying on from the Supreme Court related to civil case and not criminal matters, and this is a criminal case, and so he dismissed the application. But the case didn't progress because the state prosecutors agreed to a request that came in from one of the defense lawyers, Dr. Bamba, that the decision of the court was quite novel, and so they would need time to study it and continue with the proceedings, and the state agreed at that point, and so the case did not progress. But the two applications, all meant at halting the trial, were dismissed by the court.
Well, Joseph Akableh, our court correspondent, thank you for those details from the court. We'll take a quick break on the midday news. When we return, evacuation is not possible at this point. Foreign Affairs Minister Shelley Ayoko-Boche declares as Ghanaian students trapped in the Chinese city of Wuhan request repatriation.
The students, government totally, Mr. President totally understands the situation in which they are. But as at last week, Wednesday, we felt we should let them know that evacuation is not possible at this point.
UMB was established in 1972 as the premier bank for the corporate and private sector in Ghana. From our very beginning, as the only Ghanaian bank serving all categories of businesses, we set a standard for excellence and innovation over the past 45 years. We've built a financially healthy and strong bank, demonstrated our commitment to our customers and to growing businesses, and exhibited originality and innovation at every turn. At UMB, our focus is built around people, service, products, and technology. These are the key to our present success and our future triumphs. At UMB, we are poised to make a difference not only with our customers, but also in the banking industry. We invite you to share in our future. Our future starts now with you.
Thanks for staying with us on the midday news. Time now for sports. Hans Spencer.
It's a clash between second and fourth, and a battle royale in Doma with many subplots. Indiana Stars up against Kumasi Asan. Take out headlines. March week 11 of the Ghana Premier League. There is more in the following report.
It is a clash between third and second. Indiana Stars have a superior goal advantage over fourth-placed Medema SC, while Asante Kotoko are level on points with leaders Ashanti Gold. The Porcupine Warriors will be targeting their first win in Doma in 5 years after drawing goalless with Ashanti Gold in Kumasi on match day 10. Indiana Stars, on the other hand, are fresh from their humiliating 5-2 defeat to Liberty Professionals in Dansoman. All eyes will be on impressive Yaya Mohammed, who is joint top scorer in the Ghana Premier League. The prolific striker is expected to come to the party at the Nana Ajimambadu Park.
I have to work hard for the Doma people to know that I'm here. They didn't brought me from all the way from Tema to come and count people in Doma or count their car. Yeah. They bring me here purposely for football. So what do you have to do? I have to play for them. I have to kill myself for them to know that I am here.
Asante Kotoko have won 2 and drawn 3 of the last 5 Ghana Premier League games, while Ejana Stars have won just once and have suffered 2 defeats and secured 2 draws. In the last 5 games between the two sides in Doma, Ejana Stars have won 3 times and 2 games have ended in draws.
Well, other games this afternoon, we'll see Omina Sharks play Busian Dwarfs, 11 Wonders versus the West African Football Academy, Intalais versus Mediama Sporting Club, Karela versus Heart of Oak, Ashanti Gold up against Dreams FC, and Ken Faisal will play Legon Cities FC. That's your sports.
Thank you very much, Hans Mensando. Sounds of families wailing as a father and his son are burnt to death after fire engulfed their home at Domiabra, a suburb of Nkoko in the eastern region. The victims, 70-year-old Sami Simpe and his 12-year-old son, whose name was given only as Kwame, were killed after getting trapped indoors. The man is said to have been suffering a stroke and could not jump out of the open window. The cause of the fire is not yet known, but residents attribute it to a faulty electrical installations. Eastern Regional Correspondent Kofi Siao has more on this particular issue. We've just lost Kofi Siao there on the phone, but we'll get more on that issue later. Kofi Siao joins us. Kofi Siao, what more do we know about this bizarre incident?
Okay, just as you said, the family involved 3 people, the man, his wife, and their 12-year-old son. So they were fast asleep when the residents say they heard them shouting for help. So when they got to the scene, they tried to force open the window, and they got the woman out and left the man who was bedridden and their 12-year-old son. So the woman, as I speak with you, was able to escape, but the 2 of them died. And the woman is currently on admission at a hospital in Nkoko.
That's Eastern Regional Correspondent bringing us up to speed on that bizarre incident in the Eastern region. Now, the impasse between the Ghana Trade Fair Company and Color Planet Printing Press, belonging to former managing editor of the Enquirer newspaper, Raymond Archer, continues. And we've seen a statement from government, the Information Ministry, on it. Then we heard the board chairman of the Trade Fair Company, Daniel Macaulay, yesterday on the Super Morning Show, justifying why they had to do what they did. Now, the Trade Fair Company has a statement, and Joy News editor Fred Smith has details of
well, indeed, it says the Ghana Trade Fair Company takes note of the claims circulating widely in the media by one of the tenants affected by its recent demolition exercise, Mr. Raymond Archer, Chief Executive of Color Planet, that his machines and equipment have been recklessly damaged. We deny this claim and state again that we took great care to avoid damage to equipment, limiting the demolition to the outer walls, roof, and ceilings. The company states further, for the avoidance of doubt, that several demolitions had taken place in the place earlier last year, mainly properties which the Ghana Trade Fair Company itself uses for exhibitions. And we further want to make it clear that contrary to what Mr. Archer is speculating in the media, the Ghana Trade Fair Company does not target businesses for demolition because of their political or other affiliations. MFI continues.
Well, there'll be more on myjoyonline.com. Now, it's been 6 years since his passing, but his memory continues to inspire many Ghanaians and Africans. The late Komla Afaka-Dumo, who worked for Joy FM and then later the BBC, was an iconic figure who represented the continent and projected the positive African story. In a matter of hours, the Komla Dumo Foundation, set up to uphold his legacy, will be launching 2 books in his honor, Komla Dumo in His Element and Komla Dumo the Dreamer. Ahead of that, alumni and close friends of the late broadcaster have been eulogizing him. Ken Ashigbe, Matilda Sante, and Charles Mensah.
His passion for Africa, his passion for the black man, passion to give the voiceless a voice. So it's infectious, his ability to hold leaders to account. And the interesting thing about him also was not that fluent in ever, but he would give you words that I will learn. I remember learning Zadokali from him, and you know what Zadokali means?
Tell me.
It means eclipse, and this is me This is me who say a thoroughbred ever boy, but I will argue and say, okay, so what's that locally? And the way you say it,
Typically, after every show, we would do a review. So you do an interview. When there's a commercial break, he comes into the newsroom and says, how did it go? What did you think of that? Did I ask the right questions? I think that was something he did very well. And even when there's criticism of how the show went, usually we'll just listen, take it in, and like Marina said, he takes what is the constructive one that can help improve the show for the next day, which I thought was very, very extraordinary. Especially because given his stature and who he was like the biggest person as far as on-air personalities were concerned in our organization, and yet he could sit back and take feedback sometimes from even interns. But he also was very humorous in spite of what seemed like a really charged, challenging circumstance. He'll find a way to create some joke and laughter about it.
And that always,
exactly and that always brought us all back, because sometimes it can be intense.
He has a moment that he reflects a lot, but one of the things that we did most, unbeknown to people, weekends when there's nothing, we drive to the hospitals, Kolebu. We're buying stoves, we're visiting, buying food stuff for people. For him, it wasn't about announcing that he's donating. It was about the people who he had helped who go out there and talk about it rather than he preaching. And because of that, people volunteered. A lot of information will come to you, oh, boss player, then he will stop and then he will wave at you because he says radio. Then it is the only medium where people invite you to their bedroom, because you listen to radio in your bedroom. In your private moment. So if the person is inviting you to the bedroom, you may as well be nice to the person. Exactly. And that's why he will continue to remain nice. Even if at the hard time when he doesn't even have money in his pocket, he will smile at you.
Some close friends of Komla Afeke-Dumo, the thought of him always brings smiles to my face. And that's it for the midday news. Well, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Shelley Ayokobuchi, says the idea of evacuating Ghanaian students from the epicenter of the novel 2019 coronavirus, Wuhan epicenter, came from government, but some challenges have for now made the plan impossible. There's more on that on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu. Thanks so much for your company.